Good afternoon. Today's the fast of Esther. Tonight is Purim, a celebration where we celebrate the victory of the Jewish people over Haman in the time 2,300 years ago in Persia, which is today Iran, when Haman wanted to annihilate all men, women, and children in one day. And God sent a tremendous, miraculous miracle through Mordechai and Esther. But you see, the book of Esther, which is one of the codified books, which we read in temples all over the world and shuls all over the world tonight and tomorrow, God's name is not mentioned there, not even once. And the Gemara, the Talmud, asks the question, Minayin la Esther min haTorah. Where do we find a connection to Esther in the Torah? And the Gemara points, the Talmud points to Deuteronomy, where God speaks about the time when the Jewish people won't follow in his ways of Torah and mitzvot. And the verse says, V'anoichi haster aster espanai, I will hide my face from you. And the word haster aster, the word aster, which means to hide, is also the word Esther. But what's the message here? And the message, of course, is like this: that even in the darkest times, even in times when for some reason we don't feel like we see God revealed, we look around a world that's rife with anti-Semitism, we look at a world that is filled with hate, murder, condoning of terrorism, we look at a world that is filled with animosity towards the Jewish people, and you wonder and you worry, is God with us? Minayin la Esther, where do we find the miracle of Esther in the Torah? And the answer is, even in the hidden, even in the dark, even in that time, God is with us. One of the most powerful words that Mordechai says to Esther in the Megillah is the most famous part, when Mordechai is pleading with Esther to go to the king and to plead the case for the Jewish people. And Esther says, I can't go. Anyone that wasn't called can't go, because if the king doesn't stick out his gold scepter to them, if he doesn't give it to them, they will be killed, and I haven't been called for 30 days. And Mordechai turns to his cousin Esther, to his niece, and says like this, Ve'im hachareish tacharishi ba'eis hazois, if you will remain quiet in these days, Revach b'hatzala yamid laYehudim mimakim acher, God will send salvation for the Jewish people. But v'atu beisavich tavedu, you and your household will be wiped away from the Jewish history, from the Jewish people. The words were so powerful. When we look at a world, so many Jewish people who choose to remain quiet, or yet worse, we choose to fight their own people. The message of Mordechai stands and continues to scream out to all of us, if you will remain quiet, if you won't stand up for your brothers and sisters, for the Jewish people, God will send salvation. But what will be with you? Where will you stand? In the annals of Jewish history, of the Jewish people. But then Mordechai continues with the most powerful words. And maybe, just maybe, this is where God is mentioned in the Megillah. He says, and who knows, if this is exactly why God placed you in the palace to begin with. Mordechai turned to divine providence. He reminds Esther that nothing is by chance, that if you live in a moment, in a time, you need to seize the moment. Because if God put you in the place at a certain time, it's because you have the power to make a difference. Because you could call and make significant change. And that's the message to every single Jew living today. If we remain quiet, God will send salvation, but where will we be? And how can we forget that God placed us in the place we live, in the country we live, in the time we live? Because we have to speak up. We have to make a difference. We all know the end of the story of Esther. Haman is killed. Haman is hung with his 10 sons. Mordechai remains in power. The Jewish people celebrate, and eventually they have a victory. And the same is true today. We will overcome. We will win. We need the strength, the faith, the commitment, the courage. And just like in ancient Persia, we won. Today, we will annihilate the enemies, the ayatollahs, those that hate us. Instead of the 10 sons of Haman hanging, we have Sinwar and Nasrallah and Karech and all these people hanging. Because ultimately, victory will be with the side of God, of humanity, of kindness, of caring of the Jewish people. God bless you. Happy Purim. Megillah tonight is 7 p.m. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. And of course, all the festivities and parties. Chag Sameach. I hope to see you there at some point. God bless.